Year 9 Algebra Revision. In this series of videos, we're going to be looking through the revision sheet that I've made that will cover all aspects of algebra that you need to know for Year 9. We're going to start with 1.1 Substitution. All of these questions build upon the concept of substitution. 1.1.1 can apply algebraic terminology. For each expression below, write, first of all, the number of terms. The terms, if you like, are the things in an expression. What is an expression? An expression is a number sentence. So, for example, we have got an expression here, 7c squared d plus 5d squared plus 14 minus 3cd squared minus 2e. The terms are separated by pluses or minuses, and the number of terms would be the number that you see in front of you right here. So we've got 7c squared d plus 5d squared plus 14 minus 3cd squared minus 2e. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There are 5 terms. For part 2, the coefficient of the first term. So coefficient, that is the number that is next to a pronumeral. What's a pronumeral again? A pronumeral is simply the letter or symbol that is used in our algebra terms, usually to represent a number that we don't know. Next to the number is also the plus sign or minus sign. If there is a plus sign or minus sign, that also gets included when we describe the coefficient. So for number 2 here, the coefficient of the first term is the first one that you can read here, is going to be 7. Just so you're aware about coefficients, the second term, the coefficient is 5 or positive 5. The third term doesn't have any algebra in it, so that we don't talk about the fact that that has a coefficient. The fourth term, the coefficient is negative 3 because the little minus sign's there, and the coefficient of the final term is negative 2. The constant term. The constant term has no pronumeral. And again, what is a pronumeral? That thing is a pronumeral. So any letters are pronumerals. So the constant term is whichever one doesn't have a letter in it, and that's this one here. So therefore this is positive 14, or you could just write 14. And part 4, the term with the smallest coefficient. Now this one is a little bit of a tricky one, because one of the ways that this can fall into a trap is is that people often forget about the plus signs and minus signs. So sometimes I like to say the smallest is whatever's going to be the most negative, in much the same way that if I saw largest, that would be the most positive. So we've got 7, positive 5. Again, there's no coefficient. That 14 is not a coefficient. So 7, positive 5, negative 3, and negative 2. So the one that is the smallest coefficient is the one that's the most negative. So it's going to be negative 3. Can substitute a value into an expression and simplify. 1.1.2. If a equals 2b squared, find a when b equals 5. So all we need to do is replace the letter with the number where appropriate. So a is equal to 2. You'll notice there I've put a little bracket there. When I've got the letter there, it's not 25 squared, it's 2 times b squared. So therefore it's 2 times 5 squared. So this would be 2 times 25, which is equal to 50. The reason why I put the bracket there is in case it's a negative number. So for example, if b was negative 2, for instance, then it would be a times 2, negative 2 squared, which is equal to 2 times 4, which would be 8. The reason why I've done that is that sometimes if you don't put a bracket in there and you put that into a calculator will think you're doing 2 times 2 squared, and then put a minus sign next to that 2. And no, that's not what it means.